Welcome to the first episode of Content and Consequences, where we focus on creators who blur the lines between producer, writer, director, and actor. We feature live readings of pilot extracts and interviews with successful creatives. This podcast explores the process and aftermath of developing content. I'm your host, Jordan Elizabeth Gelber, and today I am with my co-host and guest for our first episode, the one and only Victoria Cheri Bennett. Content and Consequences is part of Rogue Matter, a new digital content platform providing programming and entertainment that shatters boundaries and colors outside the lines. Join the movement. Go Rogue. RogueMatter.com. Hi everybody, I'm Jordan Elizabeth Gelber, and I'm called Jordan Elizabeth Gelber because Elizabeth's my middle name, but people think that...
Do you want it to be pronounced like that?
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth Gelber?
That's my name. That's Jordan. I mean, that's the middle name that we go by now.
No, you go by another middle name.
I do.
Okay, so what do you do, Jordan?
Yes, so I am an award-winning actress, producer, and the CEO and founder of the marketing and production firm Starbaby Enterprises and an upcoming network currently titled Starbaby Network. That's an OTT platform launching in 2021. It's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words.
Who are you?
I have questions. So what is Starbaby Enterprises?
Starbaby Enterprises
is that also pronounced like Enterprises?
Enterprises and Elizabeth.
No, you sound like your aunt. Oh my god. Hello, welcome. What is Starbaby Enterprises?
So Starbaby Enterprises is a marketing production firm, and a lot of people, as you very well know, we should probably introduce yourself, but it's okay. It can happen after.
No, we're talking about you right now.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for noticing. Thank you. So yeah, Starbaby Enterprises is a marketing and production firm, and I created it in 2013 because I saw that a lot of my friends were getting easily swindled by other people in the industry, and that's in like all creative industries. I used to produce independent fashion shows, but I've done fashion, entertainment. I'm not fashionable at all. I still laugh when I think about that. But the entertainment industry specifically, as an actor, as we both are, the last 10 years have really shifted for the acting industry, where coaches who want to be managers and agents who want to be producers, and I remember when I got started, they had black and white headshots that were printed, and now everything's in color. But one thing I really noticed is that over the last longer than a decade now, but I saw a lot of people get taken advantage of, and I really had this passion of kind of discovering the ins and outs of what would go on in the entertainment industry, and I was able to collectively put together a database and build things, and I launched my company producing fashion shows, and that morphed into producing films, and now basically in a nutshell, I help projects and content get created, distributed, and connect to their desired audience in different capacities. And that happens with marketing. A lot of people in the entertainment industry forget about marketing.
Well, nobody goes to school for that. When you go to film school and stuff, they don't teach you the marketing aspect of it.
No,
they teach you how to make the product, but not market the product.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because you would think that that would be something that they would teach you, like that. Even for actors and dancers and stuff, like, how am I supposed to get a job? Oh, I just audition. I'm going to go be seen. But no, how are you going to get seen? How do you know how to present yourself? If I didn't have, in college, a professional portfolio class that was about, because I went to school, I was a graphic design major as well as a communications major, and we had this class where it was about presenting yourself as a designer. How do you pitch yourself for a job? If I didn't have that as like a backbone to present myself, I don't even think I would know how to pitch myself now as a producer or an actor, or have the moxie to do that. But a lot of artists, we get so focused on the creative end of it, we forget at the end of the day we're trying to make a living doing what we love. Yeah.
So you said award-winning. What is that?
Should I pick up that name that I dropped earlier?
Yeah, you should pick up that name and explain. Give me context.
Name and explain. So in 2015, after having my own business for about 2 years, you're such a good interviewer. I'm supposed to be interviewing you.
We'll get to me in a second, but we'll expand upon why I'm such a good interviewer in a second.
Oh yeah, it's a good segue. Mm-hmm. So in 2015, I really decided that events were not for me. I don't know why I decided to do events. I thought I loved the free swag. I loved doing sponsorships. I really enjoyed the ability that you can have, it's almost like a living advertisement, and which experiential marketing is the actual term. But the person I was dating at the time said to me, "Why are you doing events? Why aren't you making like films and stuff and series?" And it seemed like such an easy transition, and I had like the V8 smack on my head, being like, "Oh, yeah."
Is that commercial still playing?
I don't know. I just aged us.
Yeah, I was supposed to say. I don't know if what are they called? Gen Zs now?
The Gen Zs.
The Gen Zs. The Zers.
TikTok. They won't.
The TikTok brand people.
The TikTok don't stop.
I don't know if they know what could have had a V8 is. But anyways, continue.
Right. So I had an epiphany. That's the good college word.
I also don't know if they would know what that means either.
I had an enlightenment experience where I decided that I should really get into web series, and I got hired to produce a short in a like 72-hour film shootout event that was like basically in 3 days you write, cast, shoot, edit, submit a short. It was 15 minutes. It was called Legit.
Oh, that's such... I know of these things. I know of these competitions.
Yeah.
I never did them because I thought that's way too much anxiety and I already have enough gray hair.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely... First of all, your hair is fantastic. And secondly... And not gray. And secondly... It was actually really exciting to see how many ways I could leverage the same relationships that I would have leveraged in an event, but do it with a film. And it was so much more. I was so much more passionate about it because the entertainment industry is.
So, what was the name of the film?
Legit.
Okay,
Legit.
great.
I said Legit.
Did you?
I did. I said the film was named Legit, but I'll do it again. The film, its name, Legit.
Great, thank you.
But yeah, it was 15 minutes, and that experience taught me how to edit a film. I learned how to edit on Premiere, watching the editor that we got, and on Premiere, and it was excruciatingly tiresome, but it was such a beautiful experience. It was the woman that hired me, this woman Eve Austin, who I did a few projects with after that. It was like trial by fire, and by then I was hooked. I'm like, okay, I could do this.
So Legit, the award-winning film. Where's the awards from?
So that film won like best concept at a few different festivals and like best of the year at, at AGR Actors Green Room's festival. I think so. It was really running parallel.
Ah, yes, I've heard of Actors Green Room.
Actors Green Room.
Ye old Actors Green Room.
But aside from that, the thing that I really won the most awards for is after I got into the web series circuit, which is how we reconnected, which we'll get into in a second. I started creating content for a lot of people. People were hiring me as a producer to create content. Like I had a woman who I worked with, who I learned a lot of producing skills from, and I got connected to this other woman from this event that I did for her, where she wanted to make like YouTube content. She just wanted marketing video content because video is king and it has been for a while.
At least for 5 years.
At least for, I would say like 5 to 8 years. It's really been percolating. YouTube obviously being the push of that. The film I did with her, the content I did with her was for her YouTube channel. She wanted she wanted to be like a lifestyle connoisseur and sell a lot of her lifestyle motivational courses through video content on YouTube. And what ended up birthing from that experience was we created a television show for her. And it was amazing to see how seamless it was, how you can really make content evergreen and you could elevate the status. It's just how you present it. And that show called the Love Darvani Show, we had it in a few festivals at Seoul Web Fest, where we had your show, and Miami Web Fest, and it won Best Host. So Darvani, who's this woman who just wanted to make some content for YouTube, ended up winning in the state of Florida, where she's from, this great hosting award, and her stuff debuting internationally. And now we reconfigured her show, and now we're talking about trying to get it on a larger platform like Food Network or something like that. It's amazing to me how much is possible when you produce content today, where before the gatekeepers were so tied up. So in terms of being an award-winning producer, I've made a bunch of different films the last 5 to 6 years that have been seen around the world, and that have been I've gotten some more. Like I just won, but like Legit right now during this entire quarantine, though, they submitted to a bunch of festivals, and I won like a couple Best Director awards. It was crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, it's exciting to see people come together and want to see content, and it shows that people really want to discover something new.
Especially in 2020 when everything got shut down, people have been very creative, and in fact, you and I collaborated on a Zoom series, and but we did. We produced a Zoom series, and it's nice to know that this era has really opened up new possibilities for filmmaking and show building. What do you think? especially with the vaccines coming out, what do you think is going to be the next step and the next evolutionary step and the consequences even? What I did that?
Look at that.
What do you think the consequences will be from this year?
I think it's interesting to think that way because you and I have experienced so many shutdowns this year, and I'm not talking about like shutdowns in terms of like geographically, just shutdowns in the terms of like, where is your next paycheck coming from? Where is your next job coming from? And luckily, because of the reputation that I was able to build the last couple of years, and then what we've really built the last 2 years, really working closely together, we were able to create projects instead of waiting for projects. And I think that that's the way of the future, is coming out of the box and discovering something new. When it comes to the consequences of developing content, whether that be something short form that's for YouTube, or short form that's like a quick clip for social media, or something that's like a masterclass or a webinar in any capacity, or then you get more grandiose with like web series or movies or shorts. I think the biggest thing people don't understand is budget, timeline, responsibilities of everyone's roles on set, and who the top people are responsible for. And luckily, with what we did on Zoom with that Zoom series, which I think will translate a lot into 2021, is that we were able to, the safety factor alone. I think compliance issues with COVID at the moment is going to be a huge just cannibalizer of funds because people still don't understand it. I think the only people that I think we've heard of that really doing a good job at is like people like Tyler Perry, who had their own compound pretty much, who could control what was coming in and out. And I think for the non-union world, this is going to open up a lot of possibilities. But for the big mainstream films and series and stuff, I hate to say it, I know I'm going to get called out a lot about it, but I think they were getting too big for their britches anyway. They weren't giving opportunities to people. Everyone was regurgitating a lot of similar stories. I think now what's happened is that because we're at a lull and people are dying for content, I mean, we could talk about Quibi, but dying for content, people are now feeling motivated to tell their story and feel like that quality really has shifted. So in terms of what's going to happen in 2021, I think that quality is going to be a little bit more forgiven. And I know that we discussed this when we were making the Zoom series, that I think that the world of Zoom and these interesting kind of like webinar platform shows, I don't know a better way to put it. I mean, we're all shooting stuff on our iPhone anyway. They shoot in 4K. But in terms of like Zoom series and more accessibility, I think that's going to be the new found footage. The same way I was saying this when we were filming it, that I believe in the way that the Blair Witch Project really pushed the found footage movement for horror genre. I think potentially Zoom, if done right, could open a whole bunch of doors. I mean, they were doing some stuff similar with that John Show movie that came out earlier this year.
Yeah, somebody was a good friend of mine. I guess a
good friend, and they no longer your friend.
Well, no. I mean, you're my friend. I'll keep you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll keep you. No, a good friend of mine was saying that they filmed things with a combination of Zoom and GoPro cameras.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that was shot up in Canada because Canada had a lot easier time getting things greenlit than the American market right now. And they were saying that they were just trying to be creative, and actors were learning how to be their own set, basically. Yeah. They had to learn how to angle. They had to learn how to angle the cameras. They had to learn how to check sound, and all that stuff. And I think, the one consequence that will be a great benefit to just actors is giving them extra skill sets because they've had to.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting to see. And I think with the consequences of 2022, not 2022 the year, but 2022 T00. Sorry. I think it'll be interesting to see what comes out within the next 2 years because stuff was made this year. Now it's a matter of what network's going to pick them up, what network is going to distribute it because, they're running out of. I mean, obviously, HBO Max is not going to run out of content next year. Lawsuits galore right now with that. But, and Disney Plus is clearly not running out of content either anytime soon. But, the other platforms, such as what you want to call like the Peacocks,
I think it's interesting. When we talk about consequences of content, obviously, people think of, they forget. I think one thing that you and I have experienced in this industry is prior to this year, being that actor / almost was against us, especially even as women in the entertainment industry. And I think what's really been a powerful tool for us, especially you, being someone who has 3 seasons of her own show under her belt and is constantly creating. I mean, you've got new content. I mean, I was a part of some of it, some of the music videos that we did. But for the most part, you know, I think... I'm not trying to speak for you. I'd love to find out more about your thoughts about it, but you know I love speaking for you.
Yeah. Tell me your thoughts, but let me interrupt you and tell you what you're really feeling.
You know, you're getting the hang of it. You're such a good friend. But do you feel that although you were hoping to go into production for season 4 this year of your show Geek Play Love, which just got rebranded as,
but nobody knows what it is,
right? Okay, so you should talk about that in a second. But
ask me the question.
But I think, as someone who was going into production of a new series that was pretty much getting ready to go, I mean, you were going to have meetings this year, we were going to travel, we were going to get some other actors, we were waiting for all the LOIs. Is there anything you've experienced this year because of the fact that everything's been on pause that you don't think you would have had access to had everything been running at its own same pace?
I will say what has been a benefit of this year, if you will. If we're going to look at the glass half full instead of half empty, I will say that what has allowed to happen is nurturing of relationships.
Definitely.
Right? More people are at home, therefore more people can take Zoom calls, right? And while I can't say right now the benefits that has reaped for my show, I can say that had people not been forced to be locked down, I probably wouldn't have had the conversations that I've had this year, which I'm not going to tell you on this show yet. I'm going to leave you one more. We're going to keep those
hush-hush. You have to listen and find out more.
Yeah, but like I wouldn't have gotten them had they not been locked down. Because, you know, these people, these especially higher tiered people, they're usually booked out 5 or 6 projects a year, and they're on set, and they're also, you know, budgeting and thinking about post-production, pre-production, taking meetings for marketing, distribution, and all that stuff. They kind of were just told, well, we don't know what the future is of Hollywood right now, so you just go home.
Yeah.
And we'll just, when we know something, we know something.
Like, but, hey guys, we're ready now.
But, you know, as bad as New York got, I mean, New York was shut down, and we're based in New York, FYI, just for those that don't know. You know, we were shut down for 5 months. LA's been reopened and shut down now 3 times, which causes this sort of chaotic mess of what happens with these shows that are on set and scheduled to go, what happens with everybody, you know, and it causes this, it's hard to plan ahead when you keep getting shut down over and over again after reopening back up. At least New York has been somewhat more of an uphill, peak, downhill kind of thing, as opposed to like LA, which has been open, close. So,
you know, what's so interesting about you, and why I love not only being your friend, but being now like a producing partner with you, is that you... Sorry, we have New York in the background.
We're based in New York. Do you hear the horns?
FYI. Is the fact that you did something a lot of people, I think, are afraid to do, and I think that and going back to us as women in the entertainment industry, are almost told not to do, which is take your own initiative and make your own stuff. I mean, now we have, you know, I'm obsessed with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but, you know, like, we have a lot of stories like Issa Rae and stuff like now, people who are successful doing that. What benefits have you received, or what, you know, let's even go back even further. What was the inspiration for you to say, hey, I want to make my own project, and this is what it's going to be about, and how did you go about just starting? Because a lot of people come to us, how do you start making your own project?
That's a great question, Jordan Elizabeth Gelba.
Victoria Cheri Bennett.
Yeah, so just a little background of who I am. When I came to New York... when I came to New York, I went to the American Music and Dramatic Academy, or for those that went there, it's just called AMDA. So I'm a musical theater major. So when I got out there, I was strictly an actor, singer, and mover, if you will. I can dance,
mover
but
and
like,
shaker. You're
but
mover
like,
and shaker.
But like, you know, don't have me do like the Rockette moves or anything like that. Give me like time to stretch.
Done. You have to do that in the next time.
I mean, I can do high kicks. I used to do high kicks in high school, and the splits every way you want. Hey, give me a call. So anyways, so when I got out of school, I know.
This is why we only hang out with each other.
I know. So when I got out of school, you know, the musical theater world is all about, this is how you audition. Here's your 8-bar cut, 15-bar cut. and this is your type, because musical theater is very strict about, like, are you an ingenue, are you a broad, are you a leading lady, are you a character actor,
are you the girl next door?
Yeah. But musical theater's I find even more restricted to that kind of thing. They want you to pick a box and kind of stay there. Yeah. And there's only been a couple of, I think, musical theater actors that have been able to go back and forth. Like Audrey McDonald is a great leading lady, but she's also really, really funny when you need her to be. So she can be a character actress if you need her to be, but she's also a leading lady. But it's you have to be a sort of special specimen to be both, and the musical theater world is very restrictive on that. So I suffered from a lot of self-esteem issues because they didn't know how to categorize me. In fact, one of my teachers told me one time that I was too ugly to be a leading lady, but too pretty to be a character actor.
Oh, don't you love those people?
I love those people.
Best people.
Right. And then I had a casting director one time tell me that I either needed to lose 15 pounds or gain 15 pounds because they didn't know how to cast an average-looking sized person, which I never considered myself to be average-looking in size, but, like, it was very much like they didn't know how to cast somebody that was a size 6 to 10. They knew how to cast a size 12. They knew how to cast a size 0. Yeah. And so I was just sitting there, like, having a mental breakdown because I felt like I wasn't fitting into any of the boxes. And I was like, you know what? And I was in my late 20s, and I was like, okay, so I'm just going to make a show about my anxiety. But the thing is, like, I was trying to draw inspiration a little bit from my own experiences and then a little bit of, like, Sex and the City, because I made my character Bevin into, like, I was thinking to myself, well, if Carrie Bradshaw was a millennial that happened to be nerdy, what would she be? And I was like, oh, she'd be a blogger. And so I made Bevin a blogger. And I just thought that Bevin the blogger was just kind of fun to roll off your tongue.
So cute. Bevin the blogger.
Bevin the blogger. Kind of cute. And then I started making characters around me that, like, were reminiscent of either my family or my friends or, people I wanted to hang out with, but I wasn't cool enough to hang out with, which is the Handsome Eric character. I was like, yeah, I wasn't cool enough back then to hang out with, like, the hot guy at school, but what would the hot guy be like right now if he was a millennial in New York? Like, what would he be doing? And he was based off of... So anyway, sorry, let me backtrack. So the show was called ADULTish, and it was a web series, and I basically just went to people I knew, and I said, hey, I have no money, but I have this show idea, and here's the characters, and here's kind of, like, the breakdown of, like, the episodes I want. We don't need a script. We can improv. Guys, never do that. Just never. The editor will hate you.
Take notes.
Take notes. Don't do that. But I did that in my first season. Like, basically, I got someone that had a camera that also knew how to do audio. I got actors that were just willing to have fun. I had a outline script, if you will. I had an outline script of the scenes, the locations, what needed to happen from beginning, middle, and end, but I didn't have any dialogue. And I got actors to come in, and we did that, and it was really exciting and exhilarating. And then, of course, I went into the editing room with the editor, and I was like, I'll never do this again.
You're so smart.
I'm so smart. Oh, yeah. No, I thought it was creative freedom, because actors want, like, the creative freedom to just, act and stuff. And then you're like, oh, no, this is why there's a script, because the editor will tear it. There's no continuity at all. So, like, I just got hooked by the fact of I loved the freedom, because then I was also able to cast people that were also being bullied. And I'm not just talking about women. I'm also just talking about men. Like, every actor I hired in the first season was suffering from a stereotype that they didn't know how to fit into. And so the characters I brought them in for, I was allowing them to have the freedom to be... I gave them guidelines of what I wanted. Like, for instance, the roommate character, which is the character that my director, Justin Mork, plays. Like, I had an idea of what he needed to be, but then I allowed Justin to be like, oh, I always kind of wanted to be like this. I was like, then incorporate that into the character. And so, in a sense, all of the characters that are, especially the ones that are still around, have been taken ownership literally by the actors that have been with me since season 1. So fast forward to 3 seasons later, the people, some actors came and went, but the ones that have stayed and been consistent have really taken ownership on the type of characters that they are, which is the Bevin Eric, Michael, and roommate characters. They've been consistent, and they've really, I have to give those actors that play them the credit, that where the credit is due.
And I think, one thing that we like to talk about, one thing that really inspired us to make this podcast is that, we hear about films all the time. And and for us, we become real, like, I would say web series junkies. A web series, I like, 2 or 3 years ago was like a taboo term, but now it's digital shorts or digital series, or every series is a web series today. Everything is streaming.
Yeah, I think it's just called digital series.
Yeah, now. Digital series or streaming series. Why did you choose to do a series over a film for your first project?
I liked the longevity of it. I also think with film, what is technically true to this day is that, like, if you have a series, you are allowed more time to discover the characters. Plots can rotate from, like, the lead to, supporting characters and stuff like that. And you're just allowed more time to play with them because they're given more room, because you don't have to wrap up everything after 45 minutes. You can be like, all right, this is just the journey of this chapter. And then we go on to the next. I like chapters. And I'm a fan, which is odd for some actors to say, because some actors would kill to have just a film or a TV show that's just about them. I love ensemble cast, because I find that ensemble cast brings in a broader range of audience members, because an audience might not resonate with Bevin, but they might resonate with Roommate. Like, my mom loves Roommate, which is like, come on, Mom and your daughter. She's like, no, I really love Roommate. I was like, all right, well, thanks, Mom. She really loves the character Roommate, and then I've heard that some characters really like the character of Michael, and then we brought in new characters last season that people really loved, Monique and Dale, and they were fun additions to bring in too. And so, there's a little something for everybody when you bring in an ensemble cast, and also too, I love the sense of community. And I wanted to not only create a show for myself, I wanted to create a show for people that, like, most of the people in the show are my friends. And people that I think are very talented that never got the opportunity, and I wanted to give them an opportunity. I had to bribe people in the first season. I was like, I can't pay you, but I'll give you a SAG credit. Hey! And they were like, what, a SAG credit? I was like, oh yeah, don't you want that SAG card? And now, that's kind of ironic. The consequences now is some people kind of regret having a SAG card right now.
Especially right now.
Yeah. Why don't you expand on that, Jordan? Why would people not necessarily want a SAG card right now? Because we did have a potential client talk about getting somebody that they know a SAG card. You had to talk him out of it. Tell the audience at home why.
Oh, great. Now we're going to get SAG call me up, be like, you and your SAG card.
No, but I think it's a conversation.
It's a conversation. I think, it's so interesting when people talk about the unions. When I started acting a million years ago, it was about getting to the union. A lot of people thought that was the, beginning of your career when you joined the union or when you got representation. And the fact is, that's not true. You can take so much more control of your career now. Getting in the union is great, but I say this to every actor, producer, creative that comes to me. Only join the union when you have to. I mean, I must confess I'm not that well versed in, like, the directors union or, like, the guilds and things like that. But for actors, being part of the union comes with a lot of protection, but at the same time, you're very limited. Like, it always really bothered me as an actor that, being a non-union actor, I can do union films and non-union films. But being a union actor, you can only do union films. I get it for don't get me wrong, I get the protection element, because there are times when you're on sets and you're totally screwed over. And that's why it's there. But, now that, people are going to hate me for saying this too, but when SAG ate AFTRA, and I mean, I was in AFTRA because I did the soaps, and I got, I just had very brief extra work on the soaps, but I got my AFTRA, it was an AFTRA must join, for those that don't know, is that you do enough union projects, you have to join in 30 days, or you can't do any more union projects until you join. And I got into AFTRA, and when the unions merged, I was now in both unions. And it's great. I got to do some cool stuff, and I get access to a lot of things, but, it really merged a lot of people together, where before you'd get only like maybe a couple hundred for a role submitted, now you get a couple thousand, because everyone now is sucked into this vacuum of union projects and union roles. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's what was going on. And I think when on the producer side of it, yeah, as an actor, do I want to get people paid the right amount? Yeah. Do I want to protect people? Hell yeah. But as a producer, there's a lot of legalities. I mean, we know for our own experiences this year alone, and I know that this 2020 was a vacuum, but it was a great learning experience, and we met great people this year. We created great projects this year, and we got access to people that we would never had access to. However, one big issue that we saw across the board was the fact that even doing a SAG-AFTRA new media project was so difficult to try to get the paperwork because they were so backed up with everything going on that we were forced to do a non-union project. And frankly, I'm happy we did a non-union project. It gave us the opportunity to showcase some actors that I think really were being passed over. And additionally, you know, doing the Zoom series, which was a unique project within itself, but the idea of doing a Zoom series allowed us to get access to actors all over the world if we wanted to. We did it all over the country, but we had actors in like 5 different states. We had in Georgia, New Jersey, New York, California. I think some other places, but for the most part, they were there, and it was great because we wouldn't been able to get them all in a room if we filmed conventionally, and if they were all union actors. Imagine, I mean, being on Zoom, sometimes the crew was on Zoom for 10 plus hours a day. I mean, we should have gotten, you know, stock and glasses. But I think when it comes to union actors in terms of production, there are a lot of ropes you got to jump and hoops you got to go through, and there are states where, like, Georgia's a right-to-work state and Florida's a right-to-work state. The rules are different. As a producer, it's great to be in those states. As an actor, it really sucks being in those states. But we go back and forth between wearing our hats. What's the benefit of the production versus what's the benefit of everyone else involved? But I think, you know, getting Taft-Hart lead, which is the term for getting waivers for actors on sets, that's the beauty, I think, of creating our own projects, right? Is we get to provide opportunities for our friends and really showcase some talents that we wouldn't have been able to do before, and if we're able to waive them in, that's great. It's just, I just hate how expensive so many things are. Like, it's such an interesting
Well, that's
industry.
what's killing a lot of, like, my friends who had, like, this year that had, like, big budgets, like $750K budgets ready to go. Like, the second that COVID policies came into place, you had to add a fourth at minimum to that. And another friend, a mutual friend that you know of, Lenny, who's on the Tyler Perry shows, it's like, he's fortunate that, like, yes, they had the budget to comply for that, but just the process of, hey, by the way, you're going to be in the show and you're not seeing anybody else for, like, a month. We're going to test you every 2 to 3 days, which we all, if you've had a COVID test, they shove it right on up there.
Oh, yeah, it's a party.
It's a party on up there. So they're testing you every 2 to 3 days. So there's like this anxiety of like, we cannot have anybody get COVID because that dumps a lot. If one person gets COVID on the set, I mean, Robert Pattinson, bless his heart. Like, oh God, I sound like my grandmother. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. You know, the second he caught COVID was the second they had to shut down in London. And, you know, that's money down the drain.
Here?
Huh?
I think the Batman was shooting here.
No, they were shooting in London. London, where things are not shooting now. I mean, I think
also shut down.
Also shut down. I mean, the Witcher cast was shut down a couple of times, and so like it's a lot. Unless you are a big budget studio where you can afford, even they don't want to lose that kind of money. To afford to have that money burned, like the indie filmmakers are screwed because they're like, I can't afford to have to lose 1 day, 2 days, especially if the actors are just only booked for like that a lot of time. And then if one person catches COVID and you're 2 weeks backed up, it's like, are you going to pay to compensate for that? Do you have the finances to compensate for that? So, you know, people have been creative. I think the Zoom series was incredibly creative and innovative. Would I have loved to spend more time working through how to make it look more visually interesting? Sure, but like these are, again, going back to the first season of my series where I was like, I don't need a script, it's fine. What's a script? It's fine. You know, like it's, you know, it's a learning curve where it's an exciting time to learn different ways to problem solve the circumstance that you're in.
Yeah, I think, you know, one thing that's been cool is these indie films. And indies, let's talk series, because we're trying to talk more about theories. But these indie projects, overall, I think what's unique about them is that in a lot of small locations that we're never really getting a lot of attention. They've really provided jobs for a lot of local communities. I mean, I know of an actor that I'm a huge fan of. He just wrapped up a film in New Mexico because they were completely isolated in the middle of nowhere. There, a lot of unique things are coming out of it. I think obstacles are great indicators of innovators because,
Ooh, I just thought of a great question to ask you once you finish.
Brilliant moment. What?
Yeah, no, finish your brilliant thought.
Fine. It's fine. You ruined it. Go on.
No, I ruined it.
I'm kidding. Keep going.
No, but it's a great question for you. Jordan Elizabeth Gelber.
Cheri Bennett.
So the question I have to ask you about the consequences of 2020 is there's been some epic opportunities for you for investors reading-wise, correct?
Oh, look at you.
I know.
It's like we know each other.
I know.
It's like we've been quarantined for months.
I know, but you should talk about the consequences of 2020 and how it can open up to quote investors. By said Zoom readings.
Zoom ratings.
Jordan Elizabeth Gelber.
Yes.
Tell the audience at home what happened.
Zoom ratings.
Yes.
The Zoom ratings is. So the biggest issue that a lot of let's like take a breather before I get into this conversation.
How many accents did you just do right now?
I don't know. I'm just running with it. So when a project comes to us, because everyone's like, why are they listening to us? The reason why people come to me in Victoria for work in any capacity, they come on the production side or the business end of show business side when in any level of filmmaking or production. So for example, in the early stages where they have a concept and they want us to help them with their treatment or their storyboarding or their script, or they have that all done and they need help with getting into the first legs of pre-production when it comes to casting and really storyboarding and locations. Or they're in production and they need us to come in as like a line producer, an AD or whatever, or an actor. Great. Or they're at the last stage where they filmed everything, maybe they need an editor, or they filmed everything, they're ready to go, they need help on marketing and social media. Because like I said before, a lot of people in the creative industry and entertainment do not know how to market their project. Or for the main reason why people even come to us is that I have a finished project.
You have a what?
I have English in my mouth. Or another way people come to us is like they need funding for a film or sponsorships, or their project's completed and they want to share it with the world, whether that be through film festivals or web series festivals or distribution. All across the board, we help. We're very passionate about the industry. So one of the biggest things that happen is, where's the money coming from? How are we getting funded? Are we doing the crowdfunding route? Are we doing the angel investor route? Are we looking for someone and shopping our scripts and making sure someone wants to invest? Or my favorite, not really, I hate this, but I have a pilot, and I want to bring my pilot. God, I hate pilots. I want to bring my pilot.
Jordan Elizabeth Gelber.
I know.
Why do you hate pilots?
I'll tell it in 1 second.
I'm sorry. You were filibustering.
I was filibustering. I have a pilot, and I want to share my pilot with the network, or put it in my pilot in this festival.
Wait, can you do this monologue in Shakespeare format?
My pilot. To be or not to be a pilot. The misuse of that word. They come to us and they're like, oh, I want to bring you to a festival.
Wouldn't it be to pilot or not to pilot? That is the question.
You know, that should be our next PDF.
No.
I
hate Shakespeare.
I love Shakespeare, but I hate pilots. So, together, Captain Planet.
Together, we create Captain Planet.
Yeah, and they think that a network, especially today, I would say today, they think that a network's going to come in and be like, oh my God, your pilot is the best thing I've ever seen. I'm going to invest millions of dollars to make your full series, when there's already, from what we've noticed from all the other festivals that we've gone to, around the globe, might I add, we're super bougie, where people are making amazing full series of film, full seasons.
Yeah, if you think about a digital web series, most of the episodes are under 10 minutes each. So if you combine
7 to 10 minutes is a sweet spot.
Yep, 7 to 10 minutes. So that's 45 minutes. That's basically a pilot, but in a series format.
In a more story developed way.
Boom!
A mic drop.
That's why series are better than pilots. Yeah. Keep going.
But no, I think the reason I really hate pilots is because I think it's an archaic way of doing business. Either shit or get off the pot, you know? Anyway, so I think another thing,
ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Elizabeth Gelber just cut me out of her episode.
So, you know, the reason I hate pilots is because of the fact I think they're half-assed today. I think that in an age where people with no money and never were filmmakers before are so passionate about telling a story, whether that be a film or a series.
Is it a never-ending story?
It's a never-ending story. This is my monologue right now. It's a never-ending story. But they're so passionate about it that they're doing anything possibly can to tell the story. They do a full series, and then they share it with the world, and it gets picked up. I mean, look at Broad City. Broad City, when it first came out, was like nothing. It was two chicks. It was us. It was two chicks walking around the streets doing very short episodes. I think, they were 3 to 5 minutes long?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I watched a couple episodes. But they were very low budget. Thank you.
You're welcome.
They were very low budget. And now they got picked up by Comedy Central. I think pilots investing, 30 to 60K in a potential episode that maybe some people may or may not see, in hopes that it's just a very expensive resume builder. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like me saying this, but I'm just saying, like, you could do a lot more with that. Money goes a long way now. You can shoot, because of Tangerine, people saw that you can shoot a great film on 4K on your iPhone. People saw from that Blair Witch Project, you can do great horror film with found footage material. You can just have to think outside the box.
Wait, it wasn't found footage material. They filmed it.
Yeah, but they filmed it with a JVC camera and made it look like it was found footage.
Okay, yeah, no, I understand, but, let's not confuse people for the Gen Zers that have not seen Blair Witch. It's not actual found
footage. I'm sorry,
footage.
children. There's not a Blair Witch.
There's not an actual Blair Witch.
Nor is there a Slender Man.
No. There's no paranormal activity. That's all shot with just different... It's not high-tech equipment. That's what you're saying.
Yes, it's not high-tech. I think there are ways to utilize the mediums that are available to you to make a great piece of content.
Yeah, from what I understand, as long as you have great sound, people are going to forgive the footage aspect of it.
Forget just great sound. Forget just the technical aspects. I think you can get away with a lot of technical bullshit. Have a great story.
Sure, okay, fine.
I think that's
you
where
win.
It's at. Thank you.
Have a great story.
Nazi.
You win that one. Yes, you can have a great story as long as it's a great story. Then yes, we can make it work.
And have an understanding
for the most
part. When it comes to pilots, if you have a pilot but you have no direction where it's going and you don't care where it goes from there, it means you didn't think about it. If you're not jonesing for the next season or the next iteration, you can't look for someone to be that cheerleader for you.
Right, and also I just think it's an old-fashioned way of doing things now.
Agreed.
But Jordan Elizabeth Gilbert, I asked you a question about
Zoom. Let me
reading.
go back. So say it again.
It's called the Zoom readings,
right? The Zoom
for
readings.
investors.
So people come to us with pilots and they ask for funding and all this great stuff, and one thing that's always difficult is funding, and especially when it comes to filmmaking from the beginning. Like, how are we going to make this film? How are we going to get the name? How are people going to see us? Because we need to get the name in the film, or no one's going to care that we exist, or we need the funding for the great camera, and this is why we need the great camera. Like, if another person tells me they want to shoot in a red, I swear. Not that
I would ask what your problem with the red is, but I want to get to the Zoom.
Yeah, I know. I love red cameras. I just think everyone for a year thought the only camera in existence was red, and there's so many other awesome cameras.
Like what?
Like the I can't think of any of them, but I hate myself. There are so many. The Arri Alexa is great.
Let's ask Siri.
Sony A7S is great. I love the Sony A7S.
No, I shot my third season on the Sony FS700. It was great.
That's a great camera. That's a really great camera.
Yeah.
But I think readings have been really fantastic this year. A lot of people have been able to show concept. So a lot of people come to us for pilots, and pilots as a conceptual piece, when you could do a trailer as a conceptual piece, or a reading. Like, a lot of people do readings of plays before they happen. So over this year, I was like, you know what? I had this script that I really love by my good friend, and now our good friend, Craig Singer. I had this idea of taking the script that I loved called Paradiddle.
What is paradiddle? What does it mean?
What does it mean? Paradiddle is a drum sequence.
Can you demonstrate?
No, I'm an awful drummer.
Okay, great.
I'm an awful musician, period. I try.
Carry on.
So Paradiddle is a great story about three brothers when they fight, addiction and family and music.
All of them fight addiction?
Kind of. They all kind of, in ways, touch upon addiction, and I'm very passionate about that. I haven't been an addict, but I've been around addicts, and I lost one of my best friends to addiction several years ago. And it was just a story that I felt very close to, and I loved the dynamic of the relationships and the responsibility of family. And I loved the story of three brothers. My father was one of three brothers, and it was a story about the middle brother, and I was very, my dad's a middle brother.
Are they three amigos? The
three amigos! You can't see it, but she's doing the dance. And I really I really felt compelled to not only share it with the world, but I really wanted to be in it. There's the lead character that's a woman in the
and
film.
Why produce if you can't be in it?
Why
you are an actor.
I'm an actor. No, I really love and resonated with the characters, and I wanted the chance to really showcase my talents, and also as a producer, I wanted to bring it together. I've always felt that my direction towards success would always be as similar to you, of making my own project. And this script was so lovely, and they had done an off-Broadway, I think it was either Broadway or off-Broadway, Craig will correct me later, directed by Thomas Waits from The Warriors.
It's off-Broadway.
It's off-Broadway, thank you. I'm glad that you know. Off-Broadway of Peridot.
I read the pitch deck.
I read it too, but it was so long ago.
I mean, yes.
We read so many decks this year.
I know.
Sorry, guys. But I figured, why not? Let's do it. Let's make it happen. So I put together a pitch, and I cherry-picked some actors that I really wanted to be in it. And the first person that said yes was Brandon Thomas Lee, who's famously, he's been in The Hills, he's been in a couple other films.
Are they alive with the Sound of Music?
They're alive with the Sound of Music.
Sorry. Continue.
But no, then another thing that I thought was really cool about having Brandon Thomas Lee, I had him read for the youngest brother, is just, I thought he really, like the character Steven, he really embodied Steven. He was like a rebel without a cause kind of kid trying to find his own way, and I always thought that about Brandon Thomas Lee. He just wrapped up a few films with a few of my friends, actually. Jeffrey Cantor from Daredevil, who I love. He was in a film with him called The Jackie Ryan Story, Blackjack, The Jackie Ryan Story. My friend George Andreakos was in a film with him, and David Arquette, which I think is the same film. But anyway, he's Tommy Lee from Motley Crue's son, and the fact that he had music, he knew the understanding of the passion of music and what music really means when you eat, sleep, and breathe it. And I was just like, he's perfect. And the fact that he got back to us and he was interested, it was amazing. So we had him. Awesome. I also pitched Thomas McDonald from The 100 to read for Farrell, who's the middle brother, who's pretty much the lead of the film. He loved the project. He went through a couple rehearsals, but last minute he was traveling at the time because actors have lives too, want to explore the world during this pausing moment, and he couldn't do it. So
I hear it's shining, shimmery, and splendid.
It's shining, shimmery, and splendid.
No.
Tell me, princess. No, I did. Never mind. So he couldn't do it. My good friend Ignacio Matinia, he came into the role, and
how do you say his last name?
Matinia. Ignacio. I'm sorry. It's not. I think Ignacio Matinia. Matynia. He just did the. What is it? My Nighttime Landlord on Lifetime.
Oh, those are winners.
Those are winners. I mean, Ignacio is probably another great one of my guy friends that really is a go-getter with his craft, and having him be able to read in this was awesome. And we had a good rapport, and I was playing Austin, who was the character Farrell's girlfriend, and being able to do that with someone that I trusted.
Can I say, every time you say Austin, I think Austin, Texas.
I know.
It's just because I'm from Texas.
Tejas.
It was the forbidden city. I could never go to that city.
The forbidden city.
If anybody's from Texas, they understand that Texas has a huge college rivalry. Sorry, sidebar. And most of my family went to Texas A&M, and Texas A&M had a huge rivalry with UT, which is in Austin. So therefore, it was like the enemy territory.
There's going to be a pop quiz and Trivial Pursuit game after this.
This
episode.
Continuing. So you did this. So you got these wonderful people.
I got these wonderful people and these actors, and I got to cast, going back to your point before, I got to cast a lot of my friends or something. And I worked with a great acting teacher that I'm good friends with, James Hallett, on working on the piece, and the fact that what was really kind of restricting me was having the Zoom as kind of my medium of choice, but I think it's made me a better actor. And being able to then bring all the pieces together and invite people and promote people and have this great names and have my friends involved was amazing. So we had this reading in August, and we did it from a hotel room in Nashville because you and I were road tripping back to New York from Florida. And it was great. It was great to not only perform, but perform a role that I was really passionate about that I didn't think I'd ever get the chance to audition for. I thought people, like you said before, like, we are not stick figures, nor are we the most curvy of figures. I think that we, I always envisioned the character being a lot more wafy than she was, but I felt very close to the character, and I felt like she was me. I felt really close to it, and I got to showcase that, and then even the director, Thomas Waits, who's now one of my acting teachers, who I love, really appreciated and loved what I did, and so did the director, Craig, and now we had that nugget of material of this reading.
But remember, investors came to this meeting.
Yeah, so we were able to invite investors to this meeting. So we had a lot of really big investors. We've been having investor conversations the last several months with producers about what's going to happen next, how we're going to film it. I've had some big names reading the script now. And that's because we did a reading and we had people and we got to show proof of concept, which is a very powerful tool that I think people forget. Even people in other verticals of business, whether you are a product manufacturer or you're just in marketing and you're trying out a new ad, there's always a proof of concept and a focus group. That's what we did there.
Yeah.
And we were able to showcase that, and we were able to bring it to people and say, hey, we made this thing.
You even got an investor meeting out of it.
I got several investor meetings out of it. Woo!
Drop that mic and pick it back up because it's expensive.
It's very expensive. Yeah, I mean, look, I took my career into my own hands this year. I mean, we both did. We were very passionate about keeping each other honest of that because we saw a lot of people who didn't know that. The fact that we came into this year not only as performers but as producers, I think afforded us the wherewithal to approach our industry and still become successful, if not more successful this year than I think we've been in years previously. I mean, yeah, we didn't get to fully film season 4 of ADULTish, but you had several meetings about ADULTish. We were talking to different actors. We were pitching people, and people that we wouldn't be able to see before, people that we wouldn't get to engage with before because they were looking for what was going to be next.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what 2021 does, especially now that a vaccine has been approved. Yep. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how indie filmmaking transitions and adapts because of the restrictions that have been in place and how the big studios are adapting and stuff like that. Again, I don't think Disney's sweating anything. They've still been pretty consistent, but I think the purpose of this podcast that, you know, you especially want to nourish is having more conversations with people with insider tips on how to adapt to this new world that we're in. To this, I don't even want to call it the new normal because it's not even going to be normal. It's going to keep evolving.
Exactly. And I think another purpose of this podcast is the fact that we really want to empower people. There are a lot of quote-unquote powers that be that people imagine are there. And don't get me wrong, of course, it's corporate America. Show business has become corporate America. There are the people at the top cream of the crop. There's a lot of great steps along the journey to get there. And I think being able to showcase the roadblocks that we've come up with and how we've overcome those issues and been better for it, saved money, found better actors, engaged with new people, being able to showcase who we are as talented individuals both in front and behind the camera because of what we've cultivated during this period of time. I think it's great, and I look forward to really bringing some unique guests on board and showcasing their story, people who are both big and small in terms of their success.
Yeah, do you want to name drop the next guest that you have coming on?
I believe, the next guest, is Adrienne Lovett, who is amazing. She was in my reading, and she was also in our Zoom series. We put her in everything this year. Adrienne Lovett is such a badass. She is a she's a female creator and actress. She's also known as playing Mouse in Better Call Saul, but she was in Joker and Gotham and a whole bunch of other projects. But Adrienne is a go-getter. She's got her own production company, right?
Yeah. Adrienne is somebody...
She's in your show.
She's in my show, yeah. Yeah. How dare you not remember she's in my show? I wanted her in my show because I really admire the fact that she knows how to be behind the camera and in front of the camera. And she's very good in front of the camera. And I almost want to say that she's even a better businesswoman.
Yep.
And she's very talented in front of the camera. But she's a great businesswoman. She knows her brand. She knows how to market herself. She knows how to write material for herself. She knows how to direct other people as well. She knows how to edit. She knows how to. She's
be a team player when it comes to.
She's a big team player, which is what I love about. Because I feel like she is going to be very exciting to talk to. Because I would love to get some tips from her about what she does and how she's adapted. Because it's not easy being multifaceted, and how do you balance that? That balancing scale of like how much directing, how much acting, kind of thing. So I think she'll be a fun person to talk to.
So if we're going to wrap up, which we should, I would say if I was going to give the top 5 tips from today's episode, I think the first one I would definitely say is just because someone says it's not you can't do it doesn't mean it's not possible. And I think what we've shown this year is that when people say, oh, you can't do this, it costs us much money, or you can't film this because we need to do all the like, you need these rules and regulations. Like, we took a whole series this year that was supposed to be filmed and shot in South Carolina, and we did the entire thing on Zoom in 2 weeks. I think another one would be what is one that you learned from making ADULTish, which is now Geek Play Love?
A tip?
Yeah.
What are the tips for?
We're just going to give 5 tips that I think we discussed in this episode.
Oh, the content? Okay. So I would say that the tip is to let go of your ego.
Yeah.
My biggest, as a showrunner, which is what I kind of title myself before I say actor.
You're a brilliant showrunner.
Thank you.
I just want to let everyone know that.
As a showrunner, you need to learn how to let go of your ego, and especially if you surround yourself with talented people, then don't just hire them, listen to them. Mm-hmm. So that's my tip. Don't just hire them, listen to them.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback off that, one great thing that I've always loved to practice in even just being an entrepreneur and now being like a producer, find people where your strengths are their weaknesses and their strengths are your weaknesses. Mm-hmm. Where you're volleying off each other and it's a unit. And I love when you talk about having an ensemble cast, because that's what it is. It's holding. It reminds me of theater.
No one actor carries a film. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter.
Or any production.
I'm just telling you, even with like something like the Logan's, the Wolverine, like the one that got a lot of praise. Just because it said that it starred Hugh Jackman, if it hadn't been edited well, if it hadn't been shot well, if it hadn't been written well, if you didn't have professional people on the crew making sure that things ran smoothly, if you didn't have a clever marketing team, that film would be nothing, you know?
I would say the third one would be have a marketing plan.
Yep.
Have a marketing plan. It's not just so much about making the project, but how are you sharing it? Do you know how to discuss it with the world? That's what marketing's about. That's 3. Have an exit strategy. I would say it would be 4. You know, it's not, and I'm not saying like, oh, the film's shit, we gotta leave now. No, I'm saying when your series is done, do you know where you want it to be? Like, that should be your answer. You should know that answer from even before you get to camera, because you want to make sure it's shot in a style that resonates with the place that you're trying to have it live on. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the whole reason why we created Starbaby Network right now, but it's going to be a new name. But Starbaby Network is an incubator because we want to help people get to the next level. And then the 5th tip. What's your 5th tip?
Nurture relationships.
Yes.
That is so important. A lot of if you look at, for instance, people like the Adam Sandler films, mm-hmm. or the Seth Green films, or the Seth MacFarlane projects and stuff like that, they keep working with the same people over and over for a reason. It's because they have a solid working relationship with that person, and they trust that person. And when you get higher tiered, you want to keep working with the people whose relationships you've nurtured and trust. Mm-hmm. And it's so important to nurture relationships in this business, because it is about, my grandfather always say, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
It's who you know.
It's who you know.
It's who you know.
I want to go a step further with that. It's not even, it's who you know, it's who you know and how you treat them.
Yes. I think one thing I've always said to people, and even when you're in an acting class, or if you're at a networking event, you're in a room with a bunch of people, you're going to be working for them or working with them. You choose what that relationship's going to be. And I mean, I'm grateful because we've nurtured a great relationship, and we've done a lot of amazing things, and now we get to embark on this mini journey of making this great podcast. So thank you everyone for joining us in the first episode of Content and Consequences. I'm your host, Jordan Elizabeth Galber, and this is...
I'm Victoria Cheri Bennett. Jordan, where can the people at home find you?
Where can they find me? What a great
On social
question.
channels.
On social channels. My social handle on all platforms is at Jordie, JORDIE _Starbaby, STARBABY. And Starbaby Enterprises is the company, and we will announce Starbaby Network probably on the next episode what the new name's going to be.
Exactly.
And where can they find you?
Right now, you can only find me under my alias or my Clark Kent identity, which is Bevin, because I use Bevin as a interviewer. She's not only Bevin the blogger, she's Bevin the reporter, which doesn't roll off the tongue as well as Bevin the blogger. But whatever, we'll keep it for right now.
It's a real rockin'.
It's at Bevin Why Not Now. That is BEVIN, the letter Y, and then not now.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Content and Consequences.